I'm going to record how I would go about modeling School Street in Boston. So I need the drawings. We'll start with Revit. If I get to it, we'll move the SketchUp as well. I think most people were working in Revit. So it's a storefront condition where the front of the store is essentially a curtain wall along the corner of School in Washington, and then the old part of the building is this massive structure. So we have to define the perimeter of that building and the floor slabs and the structure that holds it up. So we'll do them one at a time. File, new, project. Always start with an architectural template. And then you want, from the insert menu, you want to place a link to the Cad file. So let me find them in my, where they are in my handouts folder. No, I don't have that drawing. I'm going to pause this while I find it. I paused for a minute to find the AutoCAD file, and I found the folder that has the files. I'm going to repeat something you need to remember that'll make modeling this easy. It's a storefront condition, so there's a curtain wall along the front. So the first thing you do with the storefront is to define the perimeter completely. So you got to draw a wall around the perimeter. A wall around the perimeter. One more time. A wall around the perimeter. File. From the insert menu, you want to link. Oops, not Revit. I want to link an AutoCAD file. So I'm going to go to that folder. Studio, oops. Handouts. Sites. School Street. There's the plan drawing. I'm going to place that. So Revit places a file and pins it. That is, fixes it in place. So if you want to move it, you have to unpin it. And you can move it wherever you need to do. What I would do is take these elevation markers and move them outside, right? Elevation north, south, east, and west. If you don't know how to do this, you need to review stuff we did in construction documents, right? So there's my site. There are my elevation markers. North, south, east, west. go to the site plan, and you can quickly draw topography. Very simple, 4 points. Massing in site, top of surface. That just creates the earth pad, right? We did this in construction documents. Everyone's taken construction documents. Finished surface, right? So when I go to any of my elevation views and I zoom in, I can see there's a hatch pattern that's associated with the earth. That's all that we did here. Let's go back to level 1. Let's see what else we have for information. I think I saw AutoCAD drawing elevation. We can place those drawings in an elevation view to understand what vertically the site is like. But for now, let us simply go to level 1 and begin drawing, defining the perimeter of this building. These yellow lines are a little difficult to see, so I'm going to go into Visibility Graphics, VG, Imported Categories, and any imported stuff is here. So there's the base drawing underlay, and these are all the CAD layers associated with it. So I can select them all and just make them a certain color. Why not? So I'm going to override the color for the lines, and let's make them this garish magenta. Okay, let's see what happens if we do that. Everything is bright pink. Wonderful. Create a perimeter wall. Choose a thickness. If you haven't watched the videos for how to model Arlington Street or 711 Boylston Street, do that, because if you successfully complete those, you'll easily do this. So let's go from the annotate menu. I'm just going to measure the thickness of about, what the wall is, 1.5 feet. So the wall at its thickest, let's measure it one more place. Wall at its thickest, these lines are not parallel, so we're not getting a measurement. 7 1/32. All right, we're going to use 1.5 feet. So we're going to go architecture wall, and we're going to modify the generic wall by duplicating that type and call it a generic 1 foot 6 inch wall. And then we're going to go into structure and modify the thickness, which is right now only 8 inches, and we'll change it to 1/6. And we're going to draw in a clockwise direction. So we want the location line to be finished face exterior. So we'll draw along the exterior face of walls here. It's easier than it appears. So to begin drawing location line face exterior, let's constrain it to go up to level 2, even though we don't know that that's correct just now. So that's 10 feet. Right, I think we went to an elevation view. Level 2 is at 10 feet. Let's go back here. I'm going to start drawing in this corner, that origin point. I'm ignoring all this, the articulation, these what appear to be pilasters articulated on the face of the building. I'm ignoring all that. I've chosen a provisional wall thickness, and I'm going to draw with that and to what appears to be the perimeter. I'm going past all this. That's structural stuff that's outside the wall. I'm just drawing right around the building. Everything, including this curtain wall, which I'm going to embed later. I'll repeat what I said before. First thing you want to do is define the building perimeter completely. How are we doing for time? 10 minutes. I should have gone right past all this, but I'll just continue. Doesn't have to be perfect first time around. Just want to make sure I go around the entire perimeter. Notice I'm not I'm not aligned to the exterior face of the wall anymore, but I'm not going to worry about it just now. Unjoin elements. Delete instance. Okay, because it got confused because there's a little too much for the thickness of the wall. It tried to make a turn that was greater than the thickness of the wall, so I'm just going to keep drawing here to there and to... Oh, it makes some crazy turn there, so we have to do that. To there, to that endpoint, to here, and finally back to where we started. So what have I done? Quickly go to a 3D view. How do I go quickly to a 3D view? I click on this little house thing icon, and it shows me. That's what I have of a model so far. I have a perimeter wall whose base constraint is level 1, goes up to level 2. If I changed, let's go to an elevation view and see what that means. If I change the elevation level 2 and drag it in the vertical dimension, all the walls go with it. Cool, huh? Level 2 is now at 37 feet. Don't panic. Okay, let's learn something about the elevational part of this building. I'm going to go to an elevation view. Let's go back to a plan view and talk about what it is, what views we're going to. So this is the south elevation. I can go to that elevation by double-clicking this arrow or double-clicking from Project Browser the south elevation. So let's go to that view. And let us import now into this view the elevation drawing. So I go to the Insert menu, Link CAD, and it looks like we have an elevation drawing. Just going to orient it to this view. Right? So the elevation drawing has some other data in it, stairs, so all this stuff you can draw in afterwards. All this information you collect is evidence of, you know, what's going on in this building model. So it Revit pins this, so you have to unpin it, and now we can move So what are we looking at here? We're looking at an elevation of the building. Right? It's highly schematic. So there's a change in level. That's cool. We understand there's a change in level. If I were to go to a 3D view, back to a 3D view, we see that we have this drawing here, right? So let's place it somewhere where we can use it. I may want to flip it around. I may want to, right, because I know that part of the drawing where my mouse is now is the corner of school in Washington elevation side of that, right? There's some foreshortening there. So if I were to simply take this, select it, go to my rotate, and turn it 180 degrees, we've reversed it, right? So I'm just looking around in 3D. Cool. Have this thing. I can move it. I'm going to move it somewhere where it makes sense for me to have, so I can use it as, you know, okay, yeah, if I were looking at that, this thing would be useful to have just about where School Street changes to Washington. Right? It lines up quite nicely like that. So this is telling us a lot. It's giving us. So let's do some measuring here. Oh, we can't. Let's go. Sorry. East, north, south. There's the south elevation. The west elevation. South and north elevation is going to have that this drawing in it, right? Is it? Where did it go? Okay, so if I don't see it in the north elevation, that means my elevation marker is somewhere outside the location of where that drawing is in 3D space. So let's go back to the site view. Site view. Don't think we can. Oh, there it is. So you see it there, and the reason we couldn't see it in the north elevation is the north elevation marker is beyond the drawing. So I'm just moving it back. Not outside of the earth. This is the topography surface, right? There's a drawing. Don't worry that it isn't exactly in the right place. It's aligned so that we can gather information from it. So now when I double click that elevation, I can see this. And now I can start measuring it. Alright? I came pretty darn close to guessing the elevation of that second story. I can also change visibility graphics again of imported categories for the drawing that I just placed, and let's make that a slightly different garish color of green. Why not? Okay. So now the elevation drawing is green. Green means go. Dimension from grade to the what appears to be the underside of a slab. Slab is 2 feet 4 inches thick. To the underside of the next floor. To the top of that slab. To the underside of the next floor. To the top of that slab. I'm measuring the thickness of the slab. So there's level 2, level 3, level 4. we have this massive part at the top, the overall height of things. So the overall height of the building, 100 feet to the back of that. What's the height of this? 73.2. So I can now take my elevation markers and place them intelligently. I'm going to take level 2 and place it at the top of level 2. Let me click the other end of this marker so that the bubble is revealed on both sides, and drag it out. Okay, let's drag out level 1. I'm not going to make, I'm going to go as far as a half hour, and then I'm going to do another lesson. Just dragging out the elevation markers. So all I'm doing is organizing now the vertical properties of this building. Now notice that the floor levels don't line up in the old building, the new building. Now, we know that to be true, right? We know there are dissimilarities there. We'll deal with that afterwards. But for now, let's deal with School Street. Level 1, level 2. We're going to create additional levels. How do we do this? Remember from construction documents, you select a level, right-click, say, create similar, and then you just pick a place to start drawing, and there's level 3, and there's level 4. They don't have to be precise. Level 5 is going to be the roof of the structure there. Looks like level 2 in both buildings is shared. I'm going to draw now on this side. I'm going to call this something different. I'm going to rename L1, 2, level 3 old. And yeah, why not rename corresponding views? And I'm going to create another, right, create similar. I'll rename them after I place them. 7, 8. So we're going to have to come up with a scheme. L3 old. L4. L4. Let's just leave it at L4. And we'll know that to be old. L5. L6. You may not use all these levels, but you have them in case, right? Some of you are only using the first 2 floors. You have to model enough of the building to get a sense of where you are. We're into 25 minutes, so what can I do in the next 5 minutes? Well, let's try to align these markers. I think what I'm going to do is open this drawing in AutoCAD and inspect it, and we're going to check what we created. So I'm going back to my 3D view very quickly. Right. So what I've done is imported all this stuff as underlays. The AutoCAD drawing, we provisionally assigned a level 2 height for the floor to base to top wall constraints for the walls we drew around the perimeter. And we have the elevation drawing and the plan drawing as underlays. Remember, visibility graphics are only associated with a particular view. So if I wanted for this to appear in green, I would have to change the visibility graphics for that as well. We're going to stop here at 26 minutes or so. Take your time with this, and good luck.